the government going on and on about, media creates a negative atmosphere, negativity, negativity. I just want to ask you this. Because, when we talk about the Purti expose, for example, this whole series of stories on Purti and Mr. Gadkari, then the Congress doesn't talk about negativity. How would the history of contemporary India be without relevant and important, well-researched, documented reports followed up and actioned by agencies and even the courts on the 2G scam, the CWG scam, maybe Purti, Devas ISRO, any such matter? Do you not believe that these well-researched, documented news reports have actually created a culture of greater accountability and not just an atmosphere of negativity?
Well, I think you've raised a very fundamental question, Arnab. And the question is that we need to find that golden mean on Article 19 as to where does the freedom of speech and expression, from which the freedom of the press has been exculpated, end, and where do the judicial processes take over. I, for one, lean in favor of A, self-regulation of the media, B, the right of the media to pursue investigative journalism. But I think where you need to really, not introspect, but where you need to seriously apply your mind is that where should your investigative journalism stop and the judicial processes take over. And the reason why I'm making that argument is because at the end of the day, the media is a huge, humongous force. And when that humongous force comes in contact with an individual, who may be legitimately accused, that accused also has certain rights under the Indian constitutional scheme. So therefore, all that I am submitting and very humbly submitting is that we as a country have to find that golden mean as to where does investigative journalism end and legitimate criminal investigation and judicial processes take over.
I just want to point out to you, I'm not getting into a one-on-one argument with you on this, but Mr. Tewari, all these cases have eventually gone to the agencies and the courts. And once it goes into that domain, after that the media reports what happens in the courts. And the courts are also fairly independent, and so are our agency, I hope, to not be influenced by the media. You did not answer my question. My question to you is, take the contemporary history of this country. I'm just talking about 2G, CWG, Devas ISRO, Purti, any other such story which has come out. Do you not believe that somewhere your government and the political parties, Congress, has been unfair in only accusing the media of sensationalism, trivialization, creating a negative atmosphere? Do you not believe that the culture of accountability, however it hits, one story, one individual will be hit here and there negatively, but longer term, that a process of cleansing up our society, of creating accountability, providing the impetus for the executive to act also is being created by a proactive, diligent and honest media?
Arnab, may I ask a counter question? Who adjudicates accountability? At the end of the day, whatever exposes are put in the public space, which lead to first information reports being registered, investigations taking place, charge sheets being filed, till the time the court conclusively does not determine guilt through a three-tier process, that adjudication process is not complete. And that is why I'm saying that we need to find that golden mean between our investigative reportage and where the criminal investigation process and the judicial process has to take over. And I think this is exactly the question, which the Supreme Court was also seized of when they decided to give an individual the right to access the writ courts if he feels that his right to a free trial is being prejudiced by media coverage.
So the media is fully aware of that.
So therefore, the Supreme Court would not have gone into this issue if they didn't have a feeling, or if certain people didn't have a feeling that at a certain point in time, what is colloquially called media trial influences judicial processes also, and that is why they gave the individual the right that you can access the writ courts, and if the writ courts in their wisdom find that it is imposing an extraneous influence, it can pass a restraining order.
That depends on two things. Long counter question you asked there. That depends on two. I'm glad you're not the interviewer. Two things. One is, these laws have always applied. The same criminal laws apply to everyone, including the media. These factors have always been there, Manish. Last point. Do you have a tense relationship with the media?
Not you personally. Not at all. Let me tell you.
No, not you personally. Has your government had a tense relationship with the media?
The UPA government's philosophy towards the media can be summed up in one sentence, which the Prime Minister enunciated to me the day I became the Information and Broadcasting Minister. And that sentence was as follows: our relationship with the media is an essay in persuasion and not an essay in regulation. So that's the respect which we have for the media.
Well, we like that. Manish Tewari, you've been very frank. Thank you very much. All the very best. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Tell us what you thought of this episode of Frankly Speaking. Send us your views and suggestions and who you would like to see next on Frankly Speaking.